when you both go silent, this is what happens next. I am Bonang Matheba, and right now, somewhere in the world, there's a woman holding her phone the way you are. Screen dark, heart loud, thumb hovering like it's afraid to land. I know that exact feeling because I have lived it more times than I care to count. I have been the girl staring at 3 little dots that never turn into words. I have refreshed message threads until my eyes burned. I have fallen asleep with the phone on my chest just in case it vibrated while I was drifting off. And I have woken up to silence so heavy it felt like someone laid a blanket of concrete over my body. If that's you tonight, pull up a chair, baby. Let me talk to you the way my big sister never did. The way I needed someone to talk to me when I was drowning in the quiet. This is not another just love yourself post. This is me reaching through the dark to hold your hand and tell you what actually happens when you both go silent. Not the Instagram quote version, the real, raw, ugly, beautiful truth. Because I have been on both sides of this silence. The one who walked away and the one who got left behind. I have been the girl praying for a text and the girl choosing not to send one. And I learned something that changed everything. Silence is not the end. It's the moment the masks come off and the truth finally gets to speak. So breathe with me. We're going to walk through this together, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat, until you can look at that quiet phone and feel peace instead of panic. You ready? Good. Let's start exactly where you are right now. It usually starts with 1 unanswered text, then 2. Then a whole day slides by and the little green bubble never appears. You tell yourself he's busy. You tell yourself maybe his phone died. You tell yourself 100 gentle lies because the alternative hurts too much. Then night falls and the lies stop working. You replay the last conversation like a crime scene investigator, looking for the moment everything went wrong. Was it something you said? Was your tone too much? Not enough? Did the heart emoji come on too strong? Did you sound needy when you asked if he got home safe? Your mind becomes a courtroom and you are both the defendant and the prosecutor. Guilty. Not guilty. Guilty again. By midnight, you're bargaining with God, the universe, whatever is listening. If he texts before 3 a.m., I swear I'll never overthink again. 3 a.m. comes and goes, the phone stays black, and something inside you cracks open. That's the moment most people don't talk about, the first real taste of silence. It doesn't feel spiritual or wise yet. It feels like drowning on dry land. Your chest gets tight, your throat closes up, and every love song on the playlist sounds like it was written just to mock you. You scroll back months just to prove to yourself that the connection was real, that the late night I miss you texts and the 2-hour phone calls actually happened. You screenshot old conversations like evidence, because part of you is terrified you imagined the whole thing. I did that. I sat on my bathroom floor at 4 in the morning reading messages from a man who 12 hours earlier had been planning our future and was now treating me like a stranger. I cried so hard I threw up. And in that moment I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. But baby, that was only the beginning. That night on the cold tile was the night I stopped begging for answers from someone else and started learning that the silence itself would give them to me. The silence was about to become the most honest conversation I never wanted to have. The days after are a special kind of hell. You wake up and the first thing you do is check your phone before you even check if you're still breathing. Nothing. You put it on the loudest volume possible. You turn the ringer on and off just to make sure it still works. You start doing detective work. You see he posted a story 12 minutes ago, so clearly his fingers aren't broken. You watch the last scene like it's the stock market. You refresh Instagram so many times the app starts asking if you're okay, and the whole time your friends are texting you the generic stuff. He's just scared. Give him space. You deserve better. But those words feel like cotton candy. Sweet for 2 seconds, then gone. Because the truth is, nobody knows what's in his head, and the not knowing is eating you alive. You start writing texts you never send. Long paragraphs explaining how you feel. Short ones that just say, hey. Angry ones. Soft ones. Proud ones. Broken ones. You save them all in your notes app like a diary of a ghost conversation. I once wrote a man a 4-page letter at 2 a.m. and then deleted it word by word because I was terrified of looking desperate. The irony? Staying silent out of pride made me feel more desperate than any message ever could. You start bargaining again. If I don't text him for 3 days, maybe he'll miss me. You count the hours like a jail sentence. And every time you pick up the phone to break the silence, something stops you. Pride, fear, intuition. Whatever it is, it keeps your thumb still. And that's when the real spiral begins. The one where you turn the knife on yourself, you look in the mirror and ask, am I too much? Am I not enough? Was I foolish to believe he felt what I felt? You start rewriting history. Maybe those I love yous were just heat of the moment. Maybe the plans were just talk. Maybe you were the only one falling. I want you to hear me clearly. That voice telling you you're not enough is a liar. It always shows up when someone else's silence leaves room for it to speak. But silence from another person is not a verdict on your worth. It's information. And right now, the information is still loading. You haven't lost your dignity. You haven't lost the plot. You're simply in the hallway between chapters, and hallways are always dark and echoey and terrifying, but they lead somewhere. I promise you they do. Around day 5 or 6, something shifts. It's small at first. You notice you didn't check your phone the second you opened your eyes. You notice you laughed at a friend's joke without forcing it. You notice the ache is still there, but it's no longer the only thing you feel. The silence hasn't gotten smaller, you've gotten bigger around it. And that's when you realize the quiet isn't empty. It's full of answers you were too frantic to hear before. You start remembering who you were before this person became the sun. Your whole world spun around. You start doing laundry without crying into his t-shirt. You start listening to songs that aren't about heartbreak and realize you still know the words. And one night, maybe after a glass of wine or a long shower or a prayer you didn't plan to say, you look at that dark phone and you feel something you haven't felt in weeks. Curiosity instead of desperation. You start wondering not, why isn't he texting? But what is this silence trying to teach me? That's the turning point, darling. That's the moment the power shifts back to you. Because as long as you're measuring your worth by someone else's response time, you're giving them the pen to write your story. But when you stop waiting for their next word and start listening to your own heartbeat, you take the pen back. I remember the exact night it happened for me. I was sitting on my balcony in Joburg, city lights flickering, wine glass almost empty, and I suddenly laughed out loud. Not because anything was funny, but because I realized I was still here, still breathing, still whole. The world hadn't ended just because one man went quiet. And in that moment I understood the silence wasn't punishing me, it was protecting me. It was stripping away the noise so I could finally hear my own voice again. And baby, once you hear that voice, clear and steady and kind, you'll never let anyone drown it out again. The silence didn't break me that night. It introduced me to the strongest version of myself I'd ever met. And she was ready to rise. You've stopped jumping every time your phone buzzes, and that's when the real conversation begins. Not with him, with yourself. Silence is the cruelest, kindest mirror you'll ever stand in front of. It doesn't flatter, it doesn't filter, and it sure as hell doesn't let you hide. When the constant pings and calls disappear, every insecurity you've been running from stands right there in the quiet and stares back at you. But it also shows you the parts you forgot were beautiful. You see how strong your heart actually is, how much love you're capable of giving without getting a single drop back. I used to think silence meant I wasn't worth the effort. Now, I know silence is the space where I finally saw my own worth without someone else's validation coloring it in. One night, I caught my reflection in the dark window, and I didn't look away. I looked tired. Yes, eyes puffy, hair a mess, but underneath all that, I saw a woman who had survived every single time she thought she wouldn't. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled at her. Not because the pain was gone, but because I realized the pain hadn't killed her. It had only burned away the parts that were never really mine to begin with. The need to be chosen every day, the fear of being too much, the habit of shrinking so someone else could feel big. Silence stripped me down to the raw material of who I am when nobody's watching. And baby, that raw material is stunning. It turns out I'm not a girl waiting to be picked. I'm a whole woman learning how to stand in her own light. And the longer the silence lasts, the brighter that light gets. The mirror doesn't lie. Some people leave because they were only borrowing your shine. The ones who stay or come back do it because they see the sun in you and they're not afraid to stand in the heat. Here's the part nobody posts about. Silence is a bouncer at the door of your life, and it lets exactly the right people through. The ones who were addicted to the attention you gave them, they start sweating the second the music stops. They need the constant good morning, beautiful texts like oxygen. They need you to laugh at their stories, to heart their pictures, to keep the spotlight warm. When you go quiet, they panic. Not because they miss you, the whole you, but because they miss the reflection of themselves they saw in your eyes. I've watched men who swore they were in love disappear the minute I stopped clapping for them. One guy told me he couldn't live without me, then ghosted for 3 weeks when I stopped initiating every conversation. 3 weeks. Not a single "are you okay?" Not one check-in. Just radio silence until I posted a picture looking happy without him. And suddenly his fingers remembered my number. That's when I learned the difference between being loved and being used as a mirror. People who only love the spotlight you put on them will always leave when the stage lights go down. They'll find another audience faster than you can blink because their love was never about your soul, it was about their ego. And ego can't survive in the dark. It needs applause. Real love, though? Real love can sit in the dark with you and still see you clearly. Real love doesn't need you to perform. It just needs you to exist. The silence sorts them out so cleanly it almost feels cruel until you realize it's mercy. It's mercy because it saves you years of performing for someone who was never watching you, only the version of themselves they liked best when you were around. Let them go. Let them chase the next bright light. You were never a stage light, baby. You were the whole damn sun. Now let me tell you about the other kind of person, the one silence doesn't scare away, the one who goes quiet too, but not because they don't care, because they care too much. These are the rare ones, the ones whose feelings run so deep they have to sit all the way down inside them before they know what to say. When they stop texting, it's not because they stop thinking about you. It's because every time they pick up the phone, their chest caves in and they don't trust their own voice yet. I've been that person and I've loved that person. I know what it feels like when your fingers shake too hard to type "I miss you" because you're terrified it will come out wrong and push them further away. I know what it feels like to drive past their street at 1 a.m. just to see if their light is on. Then keep driving because you're trying to respect the space they asked for even though it's killing you. The real ones hurt in the quiet. They replay every moment. They dream about you and wake up reaching for a body that isn't there. They write texts they don't send too, but theirs aren't angry or manipulative. Theirs say things like, "I hope you're sleeping okay, and I saw this and thought of you, and I'm working on myself so I can be better for us." They don't flood your phone because they respect your silence the same way they're trying to respect their own healing. And that kind of love, the quiet, aching, patient kind, is the most powerful force I've ever felt. It doesn't shout, it waits. It grows roots in the dark. I once had a man go silent on me for 42 days. 42. I thought he was gone forever. Then one night, my phone lit up with the simplest message: I needed to become the man you deserve before I could ask to come back. Can we talk? That message came because the silence didn't kill his love. It refined it. It burned off the boy and left the man. The real ones don't run from the quiet. They grow in it. And when they come back, they don't come back empty-handed. They come back carrying a better version of themselves, built brick by brick in the space you both needed. That's how you know the difference. The ones who only love the spotlight vanish when the applause stops. The ones who love you stay rooted in the dark until the light feels safe enough to grow again. There was a season when I thought pride was the same thing as power. I wore it like armor. Glossy, expensive, impossible to penetrate. When someone hurt me, I didn't cry in front of them. I disappeared. When someone went silent first, I went quieter. When someone needed space, I gave them an entire continent. I told myself I was protecting my heart, but really, I was punishing theirs. I wanted them to feel what abandonment felt like so they would never do it again. I wanted them to crawl back begging so I could decide whether they were worthy of my yes. And there was one man, one beautiful, flawed, human man who loved me harder than I had ever been loved before. When we hit our first real storm, he asked for a minute to breathe. Instead of giving him a minute, I gave him a lifetime. I shut the door, changed the locks, and told myself if he really loved me, he would break the door down. Days turned into weeks. I posted pictures smiling in couture while my soul was in rags. I told everyone I was fine. I told myself I was winning. Then one night I found an old voice note he had sent months earlier. Just him laughing at something stupid, I said, telling me my laugh was his favorite song. I played it on repeat until the sun came up and I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. because in that moment I saw the truth. Pride didn't protect me. It robbed me. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying, and I chose being right over being loved. I chose the cold satisfaction of I showed him over the warm possibility of we can fix this. I lost him because I mistook silence for a weapon when it was actually an invitation to grow up. That was the winter. I learned that pride keeps you warm for about 5 minutes, then leaves you freezing in a house with nobody to hold you. Real power isn't making someone miss you until they break. Real power is having the courage to say, I miss you first, if that's what your heart is screaming. I lost a good man to a bad lesson, and I will never stop being sorry for it. After that loss, something cracked open inside me, something that could never be sealed again. I got tired of winning battles nobody remembered and losing wars that mattered. The next time silence showed up, this time with someone new, someone whose heart felt like home the first time he looked at me, I decided to do it differently. When the storm came and he said he needed time to figure out his own head, I didn't disappear. I didn't punish. I didn't post thirst traps or subtweet scripture. I simply said, take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to. And then I meant it. I kept living. I kept glowing. I kept choosing peace over the urge to control the story. I stopped checking his online status and started checking in with my own spirit. I prayed for him instead of cursing him. I sent love into the quiet instead of demands. And baby, the difference was night and day. Choosing peace didn't make me weak. It made me unstoppable. It turned my silence into sanctuary instead of a courtroom. It turned my waiting into worship, not because I was waiting for him, but because I was waiting on my own healing. And something miraculous happened. The quieter I became on the outside, the louder my worth spoke on the inside. I stopped needing him to text first to prove I mattered. I already knew I did. Peace gave me back my power, because peace doesn't beg, it attracts. It doesn't chase, it invites. It doesn't scream, it radiates. And when you radiate that kind of energy, the right people feel it from miles away. They don't have to be dragged back. They walk back on their own because your peace feels like the safest place they've ever known. Choosing peace over pride didn't just save that relationship. It saved me. It taught me that love isn't a tug of war. It's a garden, and peace is the water that makes everything grow. There are two possible endings to every long silence, and both of them are beautiful when you've done the work. The first is the one we all secretly hope for. The phone lights up, and it's him. Not a weak, hey stranger, not a late night drunk text, but a message that carries weight. I've been doing the work. I see where I went wrong. I don't want to lose you. Can we start again? Slower, deeper, better. And because you spent the silence becoming whole instead of becoming bitter, you can answer from a place of clarity instead of desperation. You don't fall back into his arms. You invite him to walk beside the woman you've become. And if he's willing to match that energy, something more beautiful than what you had before gets to grow. That happened for me once. He came back after 61 days, carrying humility in one hand and intention in the other. We didn't pick up where we left off. We started brand new, two people who had sat in the dark long enough to know exactly what light was worth keeping. The second ending is just as powerful. The phone never lights up again. And one morning you wake up and realize you're not waiting anymore, you're not hoping, you're not hurting the same way. You look at the silence and you smile because it did its job. It showed you that your heart is a mansion, not a bus stop, and nobody gets to treat it like a place to wait until something better comes along. You delete the thread, not out of anger, but out of gratitude. You thank the silence for being the strictest, kindest teacher you ever had. And you walk into your day lighter, taller, softer, stronger, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that anyone who gets to love you from this point forward is going to have to bring their absolute best, because you finally know you deserve nothing less. Whether he comes back or whether you close the door forever, you win. Because the woman who chooses peace over pride, growth over grudges, and truth over illusions doesn't lose people anymore. She graduates them. And baby, graduation day feels like freedom wrapped in sunlight. You deserve that freedom. You're already on your way to it. So here we are, darling, at the end that isn't really an end. By now, you felt the full circle. The night the silence first crushed you, the weeks it tested you, the moment you chose peace and watched your own life bloom again. and the morning you realized you were already whole, with or without him. You've graduated. You're standing in the soft light that only comes after the longest storms, and if you look closely, you'll see it's the same light that was inside you all along. It was just waiting for the clouds to part. I need you to know something I didn't know back when I was curled up on cold bathroom floors, bargaining with a dark screen. This wasn't about him. It never was. It was about you meeting the version of yourself who doesn't shrink, doesn't chase, doesn't settle, and definitely doesn't let one man's silence rewrite her worth. That woman was always there. The silence just turned the volume down on everything else so you could finally hear her voice. And now that you've heard it, sweet girl, never turn it down again. Speak with it, walk with it, love with it, build your days around it. Let every choice you make from this day forward echo that voice saying, I am enough exactly as I am right now. If he comes back and he's done the work, let him meet this version of you, the one who greets him with warm eyes but steady boundaries, open arms but an unshakable heart. If he never comes back, let the space he left become the most beautiful room in your house. Fill it with laughter that doesn't need his permission, dreams that don't wait for his approval, and love that starts and ends with the woman in the mirror. Either way, you don't lose, you only level up. I want you to close your eyes tonight and make a promise to the girl who once cried over a boy who went quiet. Promise her that from this moment on, silence will never again feel like abandonment. It will only ever feel like information. Promise her that peace will always be your first language, kindness your superpower, and pride something you leave at the door when love is worth saving. Promise her that you will never again beg for a seat at a table where you are the whole feast. And when tomorrow comes, wake up and live like a woman who knows her value isn't negotiable. Wear the red dress, take the trip, start the business. Say yes to the date with the man who looks at you like you hung the moon, not like you owe him the stars. Dance in your kitchen. Sing off key. Laugh too loud. Take up space. The world has been waiting for this version of you, and she is breathtaking. I'm proud of you for making it through the silence. I'm proud of you for choosing yourself when it would have been easier to chase him. I'm proud of you for every night you thought you wouldn't survive, and every morning you proved you would. You did it. You really did it. And now the rest of your life gets to be the love story you were always meant to star in. The one where the heroine never waits to be saved because she already saved herself. So go live it. Beautiful. The best chapters are just beginning, and they're written in the ink of a woman who learned that the quietest moments can make the loudest difference. You are the love story now. Act like it. If this spoke to your heart the way I hope it did, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me which part made you feel seen. Give it a like, and share it with every sister who needs to hear that silence isn't the end, it's the doorway to her power. We rise together, and I'll be right here with the next letter when you need it. See you soon, Queen.